So welcome everybody to the virtual chapter for June of 2019. I am Michael Watson. I am your host tonight. We are having a little bit of technical challenges and hoping to be joined by our co-host Karen Hand and Art Giser, who is our guest this evening to talk about Energetic NLP. So hopefully they will be along with us real shortly. I do want you to know that because we are recording this program, a replay will be posted tomorrow, and that replay can be found either in the IACT IMDHA Mind Matters forum. You can access through either the IACT or the IMDHA websites, or actually there's an address as well. If you're you have to be a member to have access to that, but that's not the only place that it's going to be. So those of you who are not members of IACT and IMDHA will also be posted in the virtual chapter group on Facebook. And we also have a virtual chapter YouTube channel, and it will be found there. So a number of places that you'll be able to see the replay. And, you know, it's going to be so exciting that I know you are going to want to watch it again and again. So, so that will be there for you. Also, because you are spending an hour and a half with us here, or however much time you're spending with us here, we think that it's only fair that you should be able to redeem your time. And so if you are a member of IACT and or IMDHA, or for that matter, any one of a number of other friendly hypnosis organizations, such as the IHF and the ICBCH, and I'm willing to bet you just about anybody else, if you let them know that you are at a hypnosis online program for an hour and a half, they will give you an hour and a half's worth of continuing education units for having done that. The other thing that I would like to tell you is that next month we are going to have as our guest Mark Sharon. I would love to tell you a little bit more about him, but actually I don't have a lot of information. He's someone that Karen could tell you about. So forgive me for not being able to give him the quality of introduction that I would like to do. He will be our July person. In August, we're going to be talking to Dr. Wes Rocky, and Wes does something really interesting called improvisational medicine. The very name of it intrigues me. The first thing I thought of course, was Patch Adams and something to do with, you know, like doctors with clown noses, but I don't think that's really what it's about. He did a presentation at IACT and IMDHA and just wowed a bunch of people whose opinion I really respect. And then he was in my virtual hypnosis class the last couple of days that we were there. And I just really enjoyed talking with him, and I think he's got some great stuff to share with you. He is himself a medical doctor, as well as being a hypnotherapist, and he really seems to be on the cutting edge of something. So we're looking forward to finding out more about improvisational medicine. And let's see, that is August, and in September, we're going to have Connie Ray Andreas, the creator of the core transformation process, and now deeply engaged in her wholeness work as well, as our guest. Connie Ray was a trainer in the very first complete NLP training that I took all the way back in 1983. I just love this woman to death, and I know that you are going to love her as much as I do if you haven't had a chance to meet her already. So we're really looking forward to that. Let's see, that's September. In October, we are going to have Jason Lynette on the program, and I've asked him to, he's really kind of a good guy with business savvy and stuff about hypnosis. So I'm going to ask him, or I've asked him already actually, if he talk about a topic, something like the 10 mistakes that hypnotherapists make. You know, it's a thing I've heard him talk about from time to time in terms of getting your practice started or getting your business going, because he's really the go-to guy on that. So we're looking forward to that as well. And that's our schedule so far. We haven't yet booked our November and December speakers, but it's amazing to think that we're already getting organized all the way up towards the end of the year. I am so organized, I don't know what to do with myself. So that's all there is about that. So now I will tell you a little bit about this fellow Art Giser, and like I said, I hope that he's going to join us as soon as he can. And but in the meantime, I would let you know, and I'm sure that you can find him on the web if you want to know a little bit more about him personally. just by looking up Energetic NLP. I believe it's energeticnlp.com. I'm willing to bet if you Google Energetic NLP or Art Giser, that's Giser, you'll find some useful information there as well. And Art's kind of somebody that I especially wanted to share with you, only because I have known him for longer, I think, than even he realizes. When I first moved to California, I had done my practitioner training in Colorado with the Andreases and done some work there in NLP. Then I had moved to, driven out to California and slept in the back of my longback Plymouth Voyager van in the parking lot of UC Santa Cruz for 30 days so that I could attend Robert Diltz's master track when he was really doing a lot of emphasis on beliefs and their applications to health. And that was truly transformative. And this was all in the process of moving to San Francisco. And when I got to the city by the bay, the first thing that I saw looking at local advertising was there was this fella named Art Giser. I saw him in the Learning Annex, actually. I don't know if you know about the Learning Annex of the Knowledge Shop, these little groups where, it's a little catalog typically that you pick up in some towns, and there's like a million classes and things that you can take that are like a couple of hours in an evening. So I saw that, and I saw there was this guy in San Francisco, and he too was doing neurolinguistic programming. So I thought, hey, I gotta check in with that, and so I went to Art's program, and then the next thing I know, I was involved with doing some support work for a practitioner training that he was doing out there. And the thing that makes him special to me is I think that both of us have this experience of coming from the pioneer days, of NLP, except that while I went through the Andreases and then was involved with Robert Diltz and the sort of Santa Cruz community, he was doing his NLP training in the Marin area of California under the guidance and tutelage of Leslie Cameron Bandler, Richard's ex-wife. And so basically we went to different high schools together, and he has really a special lineage, and I'm interested in talking to him a little bit about how his experience in those early days and what life was like working with Leslie, as well as, of course, his work in Energetic NLP. And having said all of that, I am just thrilled to death to let you know that we have been joined by my lovely co-host, Karen Hand. I wonder, Karen, if you've realized yet that our guest has not arrived. So it's you and me at the moment, and I think that shortly we will begin a discussion about energetic NLP and what it was about that phrase that attracted people here in the first place, and what we think about that, and what we can say about that. I've sent Art a text message, and I had heard from him earlier today. He said he was looking forward to being here. So don't know what, but it's a mystery.
Well, I was really looking forward to being here and hearing him. I didn't set an alarm because I was really looking forward to this and had it on my calendar, had it in my plan. And then I got sidetracked and lost in reading some just incredibly interesting information on a code of ethics in our business, and kind of got lost.
Great, yeah. So
time and.
By the way, we might mention this because after all, this is the ACT IMDHA virtual chapter. Is that on tomorrow night? Karen and I and a group of people will be online, not a public online thing yet, but we will be online with Mark Babineau, who is an attorney that works with us on the board of IMDHA, and creating a 3-hour presentation going into great detail about the ethics code of IACT and of IMDHA. And some sort of legal information and stuff, and just putting together a nice little 3-hour course on ethics that will be made available to members of the association and stuff after we get all that done. So that's kind of a cool thing, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, the way Mark presents it, Mark Babineau, the way he presents it is so interesting, because I'm telling you, I'm going to be 100 and a million times honest with you. I knew that this meeting was coming up. I sat down. I had about 20 minutes to grab something to eat between clients and do this. And I thought, here, I'll read this ethics stuff, and I definitely don't need to set an alarm. I will be looking for reasons to get away from reading about ethics. And I got lost in it. It was just fascinating the way Mark presented some of the philosophical reasons behind why we have an ethics statement to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's a really important thing, and so I'm looking forward to doing that. You know, this is in service to the hypnosis community. It's really nice to be able to bring ourselves together with some shared understanding of what it is and really, I think there are a lot of people that aren't quite equipped with the knowledge of what the do's and don'ts are. We're not talking about personal ethics here. We're talking about professional ethics, and quite frankly, a lot of these things are sort of hooked into the legal code. And it's really important for hypnotists to understand just exactly what's appropriate for them to do and to not do. I raised a question with Mark today, for example, about if let's say that you work with smokers and somebody calls you up. Now remember, we have sort of a confidentiality agreement with our clients, don't we? And I don't know if you've ever had this, but somebody calls you up and they say, well, I'm thinking about doing your program. Can I talk to one of your former clients?
Yes.
There's an interesting question. It's like, well, no, and oh, no. Unless, of course, some client has said, hey, if you get anybody that I do, gives you their authorization to do that. But of course, we're really not in a position to even acknowledge who our former clients have been. So I won't tell you about the presidents and celebrities that I have worked with in the past. Because, it just wouldn't be appropriate. So,
I go even further than that, Michael. I will actually tell my clients that because so many people have opinions about hypnosis, that I will never put them on the spot. If I see them in the grocery store or in a restaurant, I won't walk up to them. If they want to talk to me, by all means, come up and we'll talk. But I'm never going to put them on the spot to have them introduce, oh, this is my friend Karen from a women's group. I'm not going to put them on the spot like that.
sure.
If I've got plenty of clients who don't even want their spouse to know they're doing hypnosis.
Yeah, exactly right. So see, right here, a preview of what one can expect as a member of IAC and IMDHA when they look into the work that we're doing with ethics after that is released and completed. So Karen, the other thing that I'd love for you to do before we get into the topic of the day is I sort of went over our schedule for the coming months, except I really couldn't tell them very much about our July guests. So I wonder if you could do that.
I would love to. Scott Schmerin is joining us in July. Some of you, if you're in the right demo, actually, you will probably know him as Howard Stern's hypnotist. Scott contacted Howard a few years ago and said he had some discussion on the Howard Stern show about past life regression, I guess. And Scott contacted them and said he could do it, and has been on the show taking. I'm not a big Howard Stern listener, but Ronnie, maybe one of his sidekicks, taking him into past lives and exploring that. So that's one of the things that Scott will talk about a little bit. But what he's really going to talk with us about, Scott has a very interesting history. He lost an entire person through hypnosis, and I say that in the most positive way. He lost half his body weight using self-hypnosis, and he's got a pretty incredible story about how he hit that place where he had to make the decision to make a major change in his life, and how he parlayed that into being healthy, being grateful, and into a lucrative business as a hypnotist. He's now teaching people, groups and others, about making those personal changes. So that's what he'll be talking to us about.
Cool. That is going to be lovely.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so here we are, and again, June 2019 virtual chapter, and our topic tonight is energetic NLP. And by the way, I might comment, Karen, that Howard is so stern, isn't he? So we don't want to be like that at all. It's nice to be mellow and relaxed, and one of the things that I've been so looking forward to, because I have been in the weeds for the last couple of days, is just sitting down here with all of you all and sharing some ideas about energetic hypnosis. So, or energetic NLP. I'm sorry, well, maybe we're changing the topic now because look who you're talking to. You've got
that's right.
Karen is on hand, so so there we are. So I'm curious, as you saw that we were promoting energetic NLP, and maybe I'll ask you first, Karen. But yeah, I think we can invite people into this conversation. Um, when uh, when you heard the topic, energetic NLP, I'm just wondering what it was that the title brought to mind. What your hallucination about this program might be.
I was really curious his spin on it because I really didn't have any idea what facet of NLP he might utilize to call it energetic NLP. So I was just fascinated to see how he was going to spin this.
Ah,
I'd be interested to hear from some other folks. Rory just popped in and his camera. I wonder if you would share with us what attracted you, Rory. If you would can they unmute themselves, Michael, or do you have to do
oh,
that?
they certainly
They
can unmute
can, yes,
themselves.
they can.
I'm thinking that you may be what attracted him, and and so many others. But yeah, to energetic NLP, Rory. What was your thought about that?
Oh, honestly, it's because I've done a lot of energy work. I did energy work for years in a certain system, like kind of like a mystery school initiation kind of thing, Rosicrucian,
Huh?
and and then got into NLP after that. And for each part of my journey, I would kind of have things separate. So all the energy work would be separate. And then when I was learning NLP, I was only using NLP by itself. But I have some people who come from more of the energetic side of things. And some people to me, when I first was introduced to NLP and somebody was doing some modality stuff,
Mhm.
that's just energy. It's just manipulating energy. I was watching somebody do a demonstration. I was like, oh, wow, it's just another way of getting into, that what all roads lead to Rome. Or so, and then now, I'm kind of in a place where I'm starting to use them together with certain people. And even
Nice.
though to me, it's all the same stuff, it's just a different approach to the same
See,
goal.
I had thought at first that it was maybe the opposite of lethargic NLP, and I know some people that practice that. Uh, and then I was like, well, no, there must be something more. And when I was a brand new NLP practitioner, and I still was associated with the church as well, I had some consideration about what is it that I could bring into this spiritual community that would make some sense to them within their own already, are already working for them system. And so actually I started teaching meditation to Episcopalians, if you can imagine that, in the framework of how to enhance your meditative experience. And what it really was all about was submodalities.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to visualize the Virgin Mary, for God's sake, dress her in blue. What are you messing around with here with this black and white black and white icons, and various things like that. So I saw a relationship immediately, because also from my own sort of spiritual experiences, uh, what distinguishes them from the rest of our experiences are in fact stuff that NLP can describe, and that NLP can work with. Yeah, so if you notice that, yeah, I've got this meditation going on, but it really isn't all it's cracked up to be. Well, it's like, then stop blaming the meditation, you know, and start thinking about what is it that I could do that would make this even richer. Art Giser.
Yay!
Yes. My apologies. I just goofed up. My mom's in the hospital, and my
Oh,
brother and I have been talking and stuff, and I just lost track of time. So I really apologize.
well,
Um,
it's understandable. So let me catch you up, Art. First of all,
yeah.
I've got to tell you, and I already told this to some of
Mm.
the people here, but I wonder if you realize that you and I have known each other for 30 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Sure.
what I was telling them was that I had just moved from Colorado, where I'd studied with the Andreases of the NLP Comprehensive crew,
Right.
Santa Cruz, where I did a residential with Robert Dilts for a month, and then driven up into the city. And I didn't know anybody that did NLP in San Francisco. And I don't know if you remember where we actually met. I'm curious about this, because you were teaching a class that was being offered like an evening thing in your apartment.
Oh, geez. I'd forgotten that.
Literally through the learning annex or the knowledge shop or whatever it was that they had there. And I really remember that it was just such a lovely thing because for a moment, you know, I had this feeling, even though I was in San Francisco, that I was the only one in the village. And, you know,
Oh, that's great.
oh, here's an NLP guy. And, you know, and there you have it. So I'm thrilled to be talking with you tonight. And,
Well, me too. And thanks for reminding me. I'd forgotten how we first met.
yeah. And then I did some, you remember, of course, Alex Luff and probably my friend Jacques and,
Yep.
And all of that. So I mean, this is such a long time ago. So it's lovely to see you because through the years, I will have you know, I have taught a technique that I got from you when you came in to teach a day of an practitioner training for Tom Dotz, I think.
Oh, right. Yes.
And I've taught it to hypnosis classes and stuff for the last
great
20 years. And it's got your name on it, you know, properly attributed.
That makes me feel great.
Yeah. So it's nice to know that, you know, that yes, you have certainly left a mark on me and on my students. And, you know, we're really thrilled about it. So I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, I want to just dive right into this. We had begun just in the background imagining what it is that Energetic NLP was about, and we're going to give you a chance to get there. But trust me that the hallucinations that people had about it were really interesting. I did tell them I thought it was the opposite of lethargic NLP.
Yeah, right.
and that, but before that, there's another thing that I wanted to ask you because, as I said, I'd come through this lineage from the Andreases and from Robert, you know, from Robert showed up in San Francisco. You'd been doing training with Leslie Cameron Bandler and the sort of Marin County side that I didn't ever really have any contact with except for one fellow, Jonathan Rice, I believe. Yeah. But so I want to ask you a question just for its historical value for those that are, you know, involved with NLP. What was it like to do training with Leslie?
Boy, it was really amazing. And in my practitioner, we actually had Stephen Connie Ray did a weekend, David Gordon did part of it, Metha Singleton, and then Michael LeBeau, who's married to Leslie, and Leslie did a lot of it. It was a fantastic experience, and it was very, very lucky for me because my first NLP course, I had read about NLP and I was just fascinated. And there was an advanced NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis course that Michael was teaching. And I had no business going there, but I just was so compelled I went. And it was like 5 days and then a month later, another 5 days. And the first 5 days, I was lost and confused most of the time, but having a great time. And when I came back for the second 5 days, there maybe were 60 people in the program, and they were like master practitioners, therapists, trainers. And about 5, 6 people came up to me and they'd go, you know, the work we did together in the first half. And I went, yes. And they go, oh, it changed my life. And I go, really? So by the end of that, I was like really hooked. And then I went and took my practitioner so I could find out all these things I didn't know. And because of all the assistant stuff knew me from the advanced program, Leslie had a research group that met every 2 weeks developing new material. And there was an opening and they advocated for me. They said, well, maybe it'd be good to have somebody new who, you know, has more beginner's mind. And so early into my practitioner, every 2 weeks, I'm working with this super advanced group developing new things in NLP. And it was like total heaven.
Gosh,
but Leslie, you know, I learned a lot from Richard, a lot from John. Leslie was very, very different. She brought in, she was really into emotion and into more of a heart connection and really caring about people. I'm not saying Richard and John didn't, but in a different kind of a way.
In their own way.
Yeah, in their own ways, yeah. And her and Michael were an incredible team. Michael has, in many ways, is similar to Richard. And so he was, you know, the logic and the, like an arrow. And Leslie really hadn't done cause effects before she studied NLP. And because of that, because she didn't see cause effects, she saw patterns beautifully. Because she wasn't screening out, it doesn't make sense these things would be connected. She just would notice they were connected. So she was amazing at patterns. I remember before I was in the research group at the beginning of the practitioner program, and she didn't know me well, and it was a fairly large group, 50, 60 people, and I was talking about something, and I remember it was November, and it was something I was going to do in February. She goes, "So you're going to do that in February, right?" And I went, "How did you know that?" And she goes, "Well, your eyes were focused here, and that's where you put February." I'm thinking like, whoa.
Yeah.
And Leslie was, she was amazing because she had all that warmness, but she could be really tough. I mean, she could like eviscerate you. So she had a really wide range. I mean, and when she was tough, it was very deliberate. So it was amazing working with her. I feel really privileged to have had that experience.
Yeah. They talk about standing on the shoulders of giants, and and we have this great legacy. Again, mine through slightly different channels.
Yeah,
it overlaps in a number of places, and we are so fortunate to have been doing this in a time when the people that we're talking about were actually accessible.
Yes. Yeah. And you mentioned Robert. Robert, I've learned so much from him. That was amazing experiences.
All right. Well, so the big question, we have all shared our hallucinations, or begun to share our hallucinations. Mm-hmm. So you're doing this thing called Energetic NLP.
Right.
So what the heck is that about?
Yeah.
So let me put a little frame around it. So when I was a boy, I wanted to be a scientist when I grew up, and I was very into science. I'm very into logic. I did end up managing a research lab at UCSF, the medical school there for 11 years. My father was one of the early mainframe computer guys. And so...
pardon me if I can interrupt just for a second.
Yeah.
Somebody is inadvertently
sharing that's good.
Screen with us.
Nice.
No, there we go.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was great. So I like to say that, like, I have a science background. I'm very skeptical. But if something's proven to me, I believe it. So because I was studying in Marin County, there were a lot of people into healing and clairvoyance and psychic development and channeling and all kinds of things. And they started teaching me things. And I always had sort of the mystic in me too, but I hadn't done much with it. And through them, I met amazing teachers and then later other teachers. So I was in parallel learning NLP, but I was learning psychic development, healing work, transformative energy works of different kind. And for a while, I would keep them separate. And I would feel like I was cheating because sometimes I could just read somebody's energy and know what was up with them. And I'd feel like, well, it was cheating if I did that when I was doing NLP, particularly after I was a trainer, because I thought, well, I'm not teaching them that part. So I kept it really separate for a long time. And I would mention that to people and they'd go, who made up that rule, Art? Why are you keeping it separate? And what I found is that when I was in a pure NLP mode, certain things went better. When I was doing straight energy mode, other things went better. And so I started integrating it and making it dance. So energetic NLP has one component, a major component is NLP, but it's also development of intuition, clairvoyance, clairaudience, opening up our healing abilities and our abilities to work with the energies around us to transform our own lives and other people's. So energetic NLP is a mixture of all that. So to give and they influence each other. So most people, like if you study the chakras, are healing, and the people I'm about to mention, they're doing great work in the world, but everybody's really rigid, almost everybody. And they'll go, well, your chakra looks exactly like this, and it should be this color, and everything's really rigid. And I wouldn't see it that way. I would see something much more complex and dynamic. And so I brought the whole idea from NLP that these are just models. And so I make people take an oath at the beginning of my training programs that they won't believe anything that I tell them, that they'll explore and discover their own truth. Mm-hmm. I do that at lectures sometimes too, and people are looking at me funny, but because I build up the whole we're going to do a pledge and oath, and then when I say don't believe anything Art says, they start cracking up. But I mean it, and I made up a term, beliefs du jour. So I'll go, this is what I believe today, and hopefully 10 years from now I'll believe something better. So I brought a lot of the frameworks from NLP into energy work, which is very unusual. And similarly, so like, imagine everybody here has done parts work. Mm-hmm. And the assumption in NLP is that every part is really you, some aspect of you. And that's not my experience. So I'll have people drain the energy out of the parts. Some of them completely disappear. They all change considerably. And what they're draining is other people's energy out of it and programming. So we're not just unconsciously programmed. Our parents, starting when we're in the womb, are programming our energy field. They don't know that they're doing it, but they're programmed to do it. Even if you never met your parents, they programmed you. And so when you bring in the spiritual principles and the energy work, it just brings in a lot more possibilities. So again, there's things that NLP does way better than energy work or spiritual systems, and there's things that they do way better. So for me, it's like a dance, but it's also conceptually having them. It's like the Dalai Lama wrote a great book called The Universe and the Single Atom, which I really like. Loved technology and science since he was little. And this book is his attempt to bring science and spirituality together. And his point is like, spirituality needs to be informed by science, but science needs to be informed by spirituality. And how do you bring them together so they're both better? And that's what I'm trying to do in my work.
What a lovely thing. What a lovely thing. So, and you've been doing this for a number of years now. I mean, quite a number of years.
Yeah. Really almost as, really starting back in 84, certainly.
Yeah.
But I kept them separate at first, like I said.
Yeah. But now known as the Energetic NLP guy, and
right.
You're traveling all over Europe, and that's really quite cool. So I'm not quite sure where to go in terms of how to start this, but I'm looking forward sometime as we go along this evening for you to offer us some kind of experiential something, or
yeah, anytime you want. I can start with that.
If that's a great place to start, let's go. Then we can share about that.
Well, and let me mention a little more. So Olive Hickmott, who's written several books, she lives outside of London, and it's done a lot on. She studied a lot with me, and she studied a lot of NLP and other things, and branding and stuff, and tries to, or brings it all together. And one of the things she works a lot with is literacy and numeracy. And she's found things like if you have a child who's dyslexic, if you teach them to ground, and I'll talk about grounding in a minute, the letters don't jump around as much. So we're finding there's a lot of ways that when you add together things from NLP with energetic processes, it's like 1 + 1 = 10. Nice. So you really can multiply the effects. And this is being recorded, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that
watch yourself.
Yes. Well, I'm going to warn everybody to watch themselves in a second here, and I'll say what I mean is that one of the things that I do and that I teach, and it's not some big mysterious thing, it's really easy, is remote energy work. So I do a lot of webinars and client sessions with people all over the world. And the energy work isn't any different if we're in the same room or if we're 6,000 miles away. So, and also when people listen to recordings, they will access the energy again if they're open to it. So I always like to warn people, don't ever listen to any of the stuff that I do when they're driving, because I'm going to start bringing in energy. And if anybody listening doesn't want the energy, they can just set that intention. But again, because the kind of energies that I bring in are designed to get people to go inward, not the way you want to be when you're driving. So after that caveat, a couple things. One, this isn't faith healing. People don't have to believe this is real. They just have to be openly skeptical. And by that, I mean, if somebody's committed to it not working, they can block it. And there's a really interesting book for anybody who's interested in all of this called An End to Upside Down Thinking. An End to Upside Down Thinking. And the author of it, I think he's like a financial analyst, and he got interested in healing and energy work and telepathy, and really has done incredible. He wrote a simple book, but it's based on, he refers to a ton of research. And I'm sorry that I don't have it right here, but he has like one page where there's 2 columns. And in one column, there are prominent scientists saying things that actually are a violation of science, science philosophy. They're saying things like, well, telepathy can't be real because then everything we believe would be wrong. And healing work can't be real because everything we believe, I mean, really quite stupid things. And these are top scientists. The other side are Nobel Prize winning physicists and stuff saying that they believe in this kind of stuff. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is there's this myth out there that there isn't scientific research on energy work, which is completely untrue. In this book, if you're interested in it, not only does he summarize a lot of the research, but he has like references to everything. So you could go back, you could check if you wanted to.
And just for the record, I put it in the chat room, the title, The End to Upside Down Thinking, and the author is Mark Gober.
Fantastic. Thank you. And like I say, there's a lot to the book, and it's a really quick, easy, enjoyable read. So it's the perfect book in my mind. And so, again, in places like Russia, they research this a lot more. When I have students from Russia, they go, oh yeah, this gets published in Russia, and there's all kinds of research. And there's research done here too, but they have trouble getting it published because any credible scientific journal is afraid that they'll get stigmatized by even printing it. So I'd just like people to know if they want to check it out, there's a ton of research and as a researcher, somebody managed a research lab for 11 years. Is all of the research good? No. But a lot of it is really good, solid, double-blind research. So I just want people to know, like, it's just a myth that there isn't any research on this.
Yeah.
A couple of other principles. When I start bringing in the energy, one of the things that's unique in energetic NLP that was, to me, inspired by NLP is that we always ask people to set the intention that your inner wisdom and your spirit are in charge of what happens in your body, mind, and energy field. So my job is to get the energy flowing. Your own inner wisdom and spirit, if you give it permission, will figure out what it wants to do in your energy field, what to clear and what to heal. And when somebody's inner wisdom and spirit are working together, we made up a term in energetic NLP. It's called your miraculous self. And it's when your spirit and your inner wisdom are really working together. And often people will go, well, don't they automatically work together? The answer is no, not at all. And the way that I perceive it is a person's spirit, of course, it loves you in your human form, but your spirit sees the big picture. And your spirit sees a lot of valid spiritual paths for you. So in some ways, the spirit's like the perfect parent. Whatever you want, dear. You want to get your heart broken? Well, that's valid spiritual path. You want to have true love? Well, yeah, that's valid too. You want to have abundance? Yeah, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? It probably, if one of you went, I want to be a serial killer, it'd probably go, no. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have limits, but it sees the validity in a lot of life choices and gives us free will. Your inner wisdom is human. And it can go to your spirit. Well, from up there, everything looks good. It doesn't from down here. It's like, and a lot of the new agey kind of stuff, there's this like implication you can have a bulletproof life if you just think right and get your spiritual act together. Nothing bad will happen. And of course, that's not a human life. So in energetic NLP, we're trying to prevent what the Dalai Lama calls unnatural suffering. So suffering that doesn't actually need to have. He talks about natural suffering and unnatural suffering. And so we try to eliminate as much unnatural suffering as we can. And when life is challenging, the goal is to feel incredibly guided and supported by your inner wisdom and spirit, so that things are synchronistic. Help shows up when you need it. And I won't take time telling the stories now, but it's amazing the kind of things that happen for me and my students, because your spirit and your inner wisdom will start lining things up. And creating a strong, miraculous self, it's sort of like a muscle that most people have never used, so it's weak. And there's a lot involved in getting it really strong. But for right now, the first major step is as human beings, as sentient beings, we have a right to make choices in our lives. And if somebody just sets intention right now that, okay, I want my inner wisdom and spirit to work more closely together and to guide and support me, if you just set that as intention, and if you give 100% permission for that to happen, a lot of it will happen right now even. That makes sense the way I explained it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so anybody who wants to right now, I encourage you to right now go, okay, I want to form a miraculous self. I want my inner wisdom and spirit working together. And I give 100% permission for that to happen. And when people do that, resistance may show up, old programming may show up of different kinds. And sorry, let me turn that off and it'll keep beeping.
All right. It's nice to have a meditative moment.
Okay.
Oh, great. So, and by the way, we see your question, Diego, and after this process, we'll have a little bit of time for questions at the end. So thanks for posting that there. Well,
And by the way, we end in another half hour.
Yeah, we end in about 30 minutes.
Okay, I'll get on with it. So again, in Energetic NLP, we always encourage the person, you put your own miraculous self in charge. So that, and I always like to say, if you can't trust your inner wisdom and your spirit, what can you trust? So when the biggest problem a lot of people have is they try to consciously control what's going on. So they're judging it. You know how it is. It's sort of like if any of you are, if you dance, if you play a sport, if you're a creative writer, you have to just let things flow. If you're analyzing while it goes on, you destroy it. And in the same way, this work will be much more powerful if you go, I'm not trying to consciously control it. I don't know how to consciously control it, and just let it happen. And when it starts happening here in a couple minutes, some of you will feel the energy, and that's fine. If you don't feel the energy, that's also fine. If you think mundane thoughts while it's going on, that's fine. If you think profound thoughts, that's fine. Basically, however you react is fine. And you'll notice later or tomorrow if things have shifted or not. So the hard part is just letting yourself have whatever experience you're having. The other thing is when the energy gets flowing, some people will feel discomfort at times. It's a little bit like if you have a sore muscle, when you start moving it, it may hurt a little at first. So as people are moving their energy, old emotions may get released. So you may feel them, or you may feel discomfort in your body, and it will clear. And the main thing to do around it is just go, oh, good, I'm clearing something. Now, sometimes when you clear things, you don't feel any of that at all. But I just like to warn people, because sometimes people go, oh, I got this pain in my shoulder or my back. It's total, that just means that block is clearing in a particular kind of way. Okay, so let me give a couple of really basic core energetic NLP processes that if people use them, you can use them every day if you want, and it will radically shift your life over time. So one is, one thing we've taken from NLP into energetic NLP, and other spiritual systems do this to a point too, is the idea of using symbols as a way, or metaphors as a way to access your unconscious abilities. So in the same way you can access your unconscious and your spiritual abilities by a symbol, by a metaphor. So one of them that I like to use a lot is the idea of a magnet, because almost everybody played with a magnet when they were a child. And you know that a magnet is this thing that has its own energy. If you hold up a magnet and you hold up a pin, all you have to do is let go of the pin and the magnet will pull it out of you. So as soon as you let go of something, the magnet will take it. So we're using that as a metaphor. And in energy work, they talk about symbol and reality are one. So if you imagine, okay, there's a magnet floating out in front of me that's an energy magnet, your spirit will actually create it. And I know it sounds too simple, and it really is that simple. So one of the things we work on a lot is our energy feels like every part of us get dirty. And your hands get dirty with dirt and oil and everything. Your energy field gets dirty with other people's energy. And people are shocked when they discover how little of the energy in their energy field is authentically their own, because you collect it all the time and most of us don't ever clear it. And even people who clear it some, it's hard to clear a lot of it. And you've been collecting it since you were in the womb. And what happens is you have to force your authentic energy out further from your body. So you're losing skills, concepts, abilities, and wisdom. And energy contains information and programming in it. So when you're absorbing energy from other people, you're also absorbing their thoughts, their programming, their emotions. So when you start clearing it, you have more access to your authenticity and to your wisdom, and you just feel better. And particularly if you work with other people, sometimes I'll look at other people who do regular NLP, and they're just a mess energetically. And this is what happened to me early on. My clients were feeling better and I was feeling worse. And I didn't realize that I was absorbing their energies. And when you try to step inside somebody else's experience, really going second position, sometimes some of us will really absorb their energies. So they feel better, but we feel worse. And so you need to be able to clear energies out of us. And so the process we're about to do, super simple. I'll review it when we're done. We're going to use 4 imaginary magnets, and you'll put your miraculous self in charge. Your miraculous self will identify what energies it wants you to release at this moment in time. And one at a time, we'll release energies to the 4 magnets, and then you'll fill up with your own energy, more of your authentic energy, because we also scatter our energy all over the place. When people say they feel scattered, they literally have scattered their energies. So we'll retrieve it. So everybody take an easy, deep breath. You can have your eyes open or closed. Most people find it easier when they're closed. And again, this isn't faith healing. Just pretend this is going to work and see what happens. Imagine floating out way in front of you is this big energy magnet. And just pretend it has the ability to pull other people's energy out of your energy field, other people's and groups. Then ask your miraculous self to identify the energies it wants you to release. And for the first magnet, we're emphasizing energies in the front half of the body and in your energy field, which is all around your body in all directions. So it's the front half of your body and the front part of your energy field, going up at least 9 feet, 3 meters above your head, and going down at least 1 meter, 3 feet below. So right now, just give your miraculous self permission to send energies out to that magnet that aren't yours or aren't in present time and it wants you to release. And I like to entertain myself. I imagine little squiggles and lines and clouds going off to the magnet, but that's optional. And then drop that magnet into the earth and give the earth permission to recycle that energy, which means either the energy goes back to its owners, or if it's not good for them either, it just gets turned into pure energy and the earth can do whatever it wants with it. Imagine a second magnet floating at least higher than 9 feet above your head. And it's going to clear in and around from your shoulders, through your neck, inside of your head, your forehead, the back of your skull, all around your head. And a lot of energy is in programming is in the scalp and in what's called the crown chakra that goes above the head. And then there are other energy centers or chakras above the crown, but you don't have to consciously know where they are because your spirit does. Just give permission now for that whole, from your shoulders up through your head and around your head and above your head. Energies that aren't yours are going up to the magnet above you. Drop that magnet into the earth. Let the earth recycle the energy. Put a magnet way behind you. And this is my favorite because energy literally hides behind our backs. So this is going to clear the back half of your body and your energy field behind your body. So again, put your miraculous self in charge and let it start sending energies that aren't yours, aren't in present time, out to that magnet behind you. Drop that magnet into the earth. Let the earth recycle the energy. The fourth and last magnet is in the earth. It clears from the base of your spine through your legs. And a lot of energy can be in your hip, your whole pelvic area, your hip joints, your knees, your thighs, your calves. Energy can be stuck in your ankles, the aptly named soles of your feet, your toes, and going down even about 3 feet or a meter below your feet. Just let those energies, and of course all around your legs, let those energies flow off into the earth now. And let the earth recycle those energies. And then now we want to retrieve your energies. So we scatter our energies, we leave it in other people's space, either trying to help them or because we're angry at them. We leave it on the highways, we leave it in our cars, we leave it at work, we leave it all over the place. So it's very important to be able to retrieve your energies. So imagine there's a gold ball of energy above your head, and let your miraculous self, which I guess I hadn't explained, we also call that your M, let your miraculous self retrieve your energies from wherever they're scattered and bring them into the gold ball. Now, if you have very young children, it's appropriate to have a lot of your energy in their space if they're very young. But your miraculous self will figure that out. And sometimes you have energy in somebody else's field that actually is helping them. So your miraculous self can decide whether to leave the energy or take it back. Most of the time, if you retrieve your energy, what your miraculous self will do is replace it with earth and universal energies that will help them even more than your energy would. And then your miraculous self is going to inspect the energy in the gold ball. Some of it may not really, truly, absolutely, authentically be yours. So if any of the energy isn't truly yours, it goes into the earth to be recycled. But your authentic energy comes down into your body, filling your entire body and energy field. And you never leave space energetically. As Aristotle said, nature abhors a vacuum. So you want to fill it up. So now gold energy can come down and fill up any space that was left. Because gold energy is like food. It's like something you can use. It's a neutral spiritual energy. Okay. And then it can help to stomp your feet, pat your body, kind of go back in yourself. So I'd love to hear any questions or comments about that, or any experiences people want to share. I know I'm rushing you, but because I was late, I have to rush you.
well, I've just got a really quick one. I noticed, by the way, I love this notion, and simultaneously, a mischievous part of me that resists everything just a little bit. So it's like when you said something about committing 100%, I was like, inside my head, I was like, what if I commit 95%? Would that be, you know? And then when the other place where I noticed it come up was, and the process was beautiful. And then there was a place where you talked about drawing your energy back, into the gold ball, right? And you said something about there other people that, you know, that if you take your energy back, then the energy of the earth or something will, you know, take place, and that's better for them than your energy. And I'm like, oh yeah. You know, and a part of me was like, well, I don't know, maybe, you know, maybe you just don't understand my energy and how wonderful and important it is for other people in my life. And I just knew it was just my own ego bullshit, you know. But it was,
no, it's a legitimate question, and let me answer it, because it's a good point. Temporarily, you know, and human beings, when we're being intimate on any level, with you know, conversation or sexual or, you know, anything in between, we mix our energies up, and it can be really valuable. The problem is then when we're done, we don't retrieve it. And the problem with your energy or anybody else's energy in somebody else's energy field, it will always be your energy. So it will never be completely theirs. So it isn't that it isn't wonderful. It's just, it's yours. And Earth and universal energy, they can adapt and use as their own. Your energy will always be wonderful in this space, but there'll always be something off, because it'll still be Michael, and you know, this other person isn't Michael, and they have their own unique energy. So again, temporarily it can be wonderful. The other thing is, a lot of healing systems, and the first one I learned, taught you to use your own energy in somebody else's energy field. And there's a lot of healers are overweight. I mean, really, you know, highly obese, somewhere between overweight and highly obese. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with being overweight, but the reason a lot of them are so overweight is they've got so much of other people's energy in their body that you put on weight. It's a way of trying to protect ourselves. It only works a little bit. And my health was going down the toilet when I was absorbing other people's energies and not clearing. And so it's really important to be able to separate out energies. It's important to be able to mingle them, but it's important to be able to separate them back out. So we can all acknowledge, Michael, you know, I've always thought your energy was wonderful, but it's you. You know? So in my space, it's a nice visitor, but at a certain point, okay, like this is my shell, you know.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So by the way, there are a couple questions that are shown up in the chat room, and some of them may be redundant because they were asked earlier and about that. But one in particular, I wonder, Diego, if you're out there, I know that you're out there. If you'd like to unmute your microphone, you can actually make your comment, and then Art can hear you, because I don't believe he's in the chat room.
No, I'm seeing it.
Oh, okay.
I'd still love to hear from Diego, but I'm seeing it.
Hi, Art. Good night.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
I really enjoyed that technique, because I could really feel my magnetic field around me, like expanding and releasing energy and retrieving new energy. And the thing is there any, how much of mesmerism or Yuhuna techniques is there on energetic NLP?
I only know a little bit of Huna, and there's certainly, I don't know exactly what you're calling mesmerism, but there's certainly, I make use of my, you know, study of hypnosis in the language and how I do things with people. I think there must be some overlap with Huna. I think there's a lot of significant differences. I mean, Huna's a lovely system developed by Max Freedom Long, if people aren't familiar with it. And it was inspired by Hawaiian tradition, so it isn't actually a Hawaiian tradition in and of itself. It was his channeled version of their traditions. And it's got a lot of good things in it, but I think it's significantly different. And I think any good system, there will be overlap. So I'm sure there's overlaps. Is that helpful?
I bet it is.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
I'm here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really beautiful art. It really was. I completely
Thank you.
felt energies moving. I mean, I could actually feel it as if that big magnet was drawing it up there. That was extraordinarily simple and beautiful.
Yeah, lovely.
Well, thank you. And that's my goal, and is to take spiritual processes and make them as simple as I can without diluting them. And often they're more powerful when they're really simple. And there's one of my colleagues who's fantastic. I mean, he'll get into incredible details on the chakras and stuff, and does fantastic work. But I'm more like, how do you make it simple? How do you draw on the knowledge of your spirit and your inner wisdom, and kind of not get in your own way? And like, one of the great things I learned from NLP is any way of thinking is a strength and a weakness. And at times we get detailed, but I am always trying to, how do you make this simple, doable? And let me review the steps real quickly, because what I encourage people to do this in the morning when you get up. And like, I'm not a morning person. I kind of wake up like, ugh. And I do this, and it's like, hello world. And then if you do it before you go to sleep, you'll sleep more easily and get more rest, because otherwise you're processing other people's energy all night. And in the morning, of course, you've done a lot of processing while you were sleeping. So you can also do it if you're going to make a big presentation or have a big meeting or teaching a program. If you do it ahead of time, you'll be more grounded. Things will flow better. If you're working with clients, really, really important to do after you're working with clients. Otherwise, you'll accumulate their energies, which I can tell you from personal experience can be really detrimental, and emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So there's this 4 magnets. So you put your miraculous self in charge, and you're not trying to clear all the energies that aren't yours, just whatever your miraculous self wants to clear at that moment. You put one out in front of you, clear kind of from the middle of your body out forward. One high above you, you're clearing, and you're close. Your energy field, your aura is all around you. So you're clearing from your shoulders up through your neck, and a lot of energy gets stuck inside the head and in the skull, like in the front of the skull and the back of the skull. A lot of energy and programming is stuck right in your scalp and the crown energy center above it. But there's a number of chakras or energy centers above that. But again, your miraculous self knows where they are. So you're clearing that whole area. Then you do behind you. And again, a lot of energies literally kind of hide behind our back. And I don't mean that in an evil way, but they're trying to stick around, so they'll hide. And then one in the earth below you, it's going from the base of your spine through your legs and feet and all around. And each time when you're done, you drop the magnet in the earth and let the earth recycle the energy. Then it's really, really important to refill. Again, nature abhors a vacuum. So something will fill the space in your energy field, and you don't want something to fill it. So you put that gold ball above it, it retrieves your energy, cleans it up, analyzes it. If it's not really, truly your energy, it goes into the earth to be recycled. If it is your essence, your authentic energy, it comes back into your body and your energy field. And then if there's still any space left, gold energy comes in and fills it. And again, our unconscious minds and our spirits know how to do this stuff. So if you just go, okay, fill me with gold energy, it will. If you don't get in the way, and if you don't go, am I doing it right, blah, blah, just go, okay, fill me with gold energy. It'll happen. If resistance comes up, where images or thoughts, you're not worthy or blah, 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 blah. I want to use the skill you developed when you were a teenager, which is to listen to somebody and nod and acknowledge and have no intention of doing what they say. So, if something goes, you're not worthy, just go, thank you, I heard you, nod, and just like a teenager, like, and no, and I'm not actually going to do anything with that information. So you don't want to get in resistance to it, because you actually add energy to it. You just, go ignore it. You acknowledge it and then ignore it.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. There is another question, and actually it sort of came to me privately, I think, so I don't know that you see it.
Okay.
From Charles Smith in disguise, who I believe is Catherine.
Yeah.
And Catherine, can you open up your microphone and say hello and talk to Art?
Hi. So my question was to Michael, because I thought he might be able to help me. I love the exercise, and I'm going to use it on all my clairs who come into my office who
Great.
their gift. But I'm a really high claircognizance, and so your activity, although I don't hold anything on it, so claircognizance is a nosy Parker, and I was a little bit worried what you do as a high sense person, because there are about 9-ish, 10-ish, 12 people here, and when I do that magnet work, what everybody is thinking, or everybody I'm going to know everything about you up until the age you are now. So I was a little bit concerned that I'm going to know all this, because that's really rude, and I think it's a bit rude. So I was going, people who are high, who it's not absorb, but know and then release, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, what do I do in this activity? Because I will read you all in seconds, and I'll know everything I shouldn't know. And so I found that interesting exercise.
Yeah, it's a great question. And what we do in Energetic NLP, we call it M&Ms, because miraculous self will refer to sometimes as M, kind of a James Bond pun.
I like it.
M is, I do a lot of work in London, and they came up with it. So, at the beginning, I imagined that my M and their M are communicating, and their M is telling my M what to do with them. And in the same way, you could go, just give me whatever information you want me to have, and don't give me the rest. So you're both telling your spirit and inner wisdom and their spirit and inner wisdom, filter it out and give me what I should know.
So I have a traffic light. So everybody has a traffic light, and it goes red is danger, orange is, this is going to be difficult, and green is great. So that's how I do it on a day-to-day basis. And you were inviting me to open and connect and to magnetize. Well, that means I'm kind of putting that away for a bit. I'm going to do that. So I, on a day-to-day basis, go through life like that. So I don't read everybody, and I can they can keep their confidence and their secrets. I don't want them. They can have them. Yeah,
I think it's okay to say this. You have some old programming that, there's a part of you that wants all the available information, for good reasons or good intentions. And I think it's just really clarifying yourself that, no, that's not what that's programming. That's not what you want. And, in NLP, we learn so much about filters, and I teach people a lot. It's like, if there's somewhere with somebody or some place where I want to read the energies, I always put up filters, and it's like, here's what I don't want, and here's what I do want. And if you practice with your miraculous self, it will help. I also use traffic light. I teach traffic lights to my students. I'll go, if I'm saying something and you get a green light, it means what I'm saying is good for you right now. Yellow light, you have to say amber. It's no, it's just it's not quite on target, but don't throw it out. And a red light means either you're not ready for it or you're ahead of me, or it's just not for you. So I like that technique. But I think you can let your miraculous self really help you, because it's really important to be able to filter out what information we get, as you know.
Absolutely, because I don't know. I don't want to know that you're doing domestic violence. I don't want to know that you're, raping or killing or murdering. And I've worked with police on that, and that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
So it's part of who I am, and so I'm fine about it, and I can control it. But being a claircognizance is just what it is.
Yeah, and again, I think if you experiment around with putting your miraculous self in charge of that and really being clear, like, here's my criteria, I think you can make it more and more of it automatic over time, so you can be comfortable with it.
Yeah, but I didn't grow it. I was born with it. So
No, I understand. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I've had to develop a lot of screening out. I'm very clairsentient. I'm other things too, but I had to be really clear. Like, no, I don't want to feel what they're feeling. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And that too, Art, is a simple approach to that, is it not? Can you not just set your intention and make that real for yourself?
Well, yes, but we don't have time to get into tonight, but there's things like karma, but there's also the concept of, and there's programming from past lives or groups, and there's spiritual contracts. And I do a lot of work with people at changing spiritual contracts. So there can be a number of things involved. So setting your intention is always worth, that's the first shot. And a lot of times it works, but if it doesn't work, it means there's something overruling it. And it'll be either programmings, spiritual contracts, which are a kind of programming, or it could be karmic, but all those things can be worked with. But unfortunately, I haven't found so we set our intention, give 100% permission, because just because you set intention, I'll just say this real quick for now. We have something we call whole being in permission and whole being intention. And that's when your spirit, your soul, your conscious mind, all the parts of your unconscious mind and your body are in alignment, and your karma and your spiritual contracts will allow it. So any aspect of yourself can interfere with that conscious intention. So, you might need to work with the unconscious mind. You might need to work with spiritual contracts or karma. But it's always worth giving intention and saying, I'm giving 100% permission. Then if that doesn't happen, then you see what's getting in the way.
All right. Well, Art, that's lovely. We're running to the end of our time, and I sure wish we had more. And
I am so sorry for being late.
It's really all right. It's a done deal, and you're here with us, and you shared something wonderful that people really enjoyed. And I want to remind everybody that tonight's program, once again, just to recap, will be posted tomorrow on the Mind Matters forum at IACT and IMDHA. It will be posted on the virtual chat group on Facebook. It will also be posted in the virtual chapter YouTube channel. So there's all kinds of places for you to get it, and it gets spread about all over the place. So people are going to see you, Art, and it might be a good idea at this point for you to let us all know how, if anybody would like to get in touch with you, or how they can do that.
Oh, that'd be great. My website is energeticnlp.com, or if you're lazy like me, you can just go enlp7.com, enlp7.com, and we'll forward that. And I do a lot of online programs, and I also do in-person ones, and all that information will be on there. I'd love to hear from you.
Oh, that's great. That is wonderful. And now, by the way, speaking of energy, we have a tradition here at the virtual chapter. So before we do it, so hang on, because we're going to give you a great send-off, Art. I just remind everybody once again, as I mentioned, the replay is going to be available. You can get CEUs by going to IACT or IMDHA's website if you're a member, and just let them know that you've been here and you want your time back. And next month, we are going to be talking to Mark Sharon. Am I saying it right, Karen?
Scott Schmerin. Real close.
Yeah.
Scott Sharon, a great personal friend of mine, actually. Karen did tell you all about him earlier. And it's going to be a lovely time. So we're looking forward to that. And Art, we just can't thank you enough for being here. But what we can do is our usual ending bit, which is in a moment, I'm going to open up everybody's microphones, and in a great cacophony of affection, we're going to just let you know that we appreciate you being with us.
Oh, thank you.
And thanks a lot for it all. So the microphones are open.
Positive energy your way, Art.
Thank you, Art. Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very wonderful.
You are.
Very wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for being so generous about my being late. You're all being very kind, and I appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.